Alright, so here's our second example of solving polynomial equations. So, go over this again real quick, just like we did in the first video. You can check it out if you need to, it's a different problem. So, if we have a polynomial f of x, okay, so here's our polynomial. This is the leading term and the leading coefficient, a sub n, x to the n. It's a degree n polynomial. And it goes all the way down to the constant term, a naught. Okay, and it has integer coefficients, and every rational zero of the polynomial is of this form, p over q. We can write it as p over q, where p and q have no common factors other than 1. That, well, it just means that it's reduced. Okay, it's a reduced fraction. All right, so p is a factor of the constant term. Okay, all the numbers that multiply to give us the constant term, that's p. Q is a factor of the leading coefficient, the number in front of the variable with the largest exponent. Okay, that's a Q is a factor of that. All right, so this example is going to be polynomial of degree 3. The first example that I did, it's also degree 3. And then I'll do another problem in another video, um, example 3. It'll be a fourth degree polynomial, so if you want to check that out. Alright, well, let's look at this one. Alright, so here we have our equation, our function. We want to find all the zeros. So first thing you want to do is look and see if it factors. We've got 4 terms, so we could split it down the middle and try factor by grouping. Well, it doesn't factor using factor by grouping, but I want you to be aware of that. Just because you know how to solve them like this now doesn't mean that's how you solve all of them. Try the things that you've learned before. Okay, if it works, it's much easier to do factor by grouping, but in this case it doesn't. You can't work it like that, so but try it. All right, so now let's list the factors of p. Okay, so for p, well, those are factors of 8. All right, so our factors of 8, well, let's see. We've got 1, 2, 4, and 8. Okay, but it's not just 1, it's plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 4, and plus or minus 8. Okay, so think about it. 1 times 8 is 8. Negative 1 times negative 8 is positive 8. So that's, you put the plus or minus. Okay. All right. Now we need q, the factors of q. Well, that's the factors of 3. So that's going to be plus or minus 1 and plus or minus 3. And then we need p over q. Okay, so that's going to be the 1 over each one, then the 2 over each one, the 4 over each one, and the 8 over each one. So I've got 1 over 1 is just 1. Okay, then I've got 1 over 3. Okay, and then the 2 over each one, so 2 over 1 is just 2, and then 2 over 3, and then I've got the 4 over each one, so 4 over 1, which is just 4, and then 4 over 3, and then the 8, so I've got 8 over 1, which is just 8, and then the 8 over 3. Alright, so you can see when the compared to the first problem that we worked, I mean, when we get a few factors, I mean, look, that's just 4 of them. You can see we can get quite a few results. So now what we have to do is we're going to use synthetic division to try and see which ones work. All right. So I always start out with the 1. So the 3 comes down. So that's 3. Add. That's 1, 9, 9. And you can see our remainder is not 0. So the 1 doesn't work. So now we would go and we would try the negative 1. Okay. So you would do the negative 1. Do the same thing. And you will see that the negative 1 does not work either. And usually what I do is I'll go through and check these out first, like the plus and minus 1, plus and minus 2, plus and minus 4, plus and minus 8. Okay? A lot of times that's the easiest thing to do. Sometimes none of them will work. And that's the case here. None of them work. Okay? The one that works is negative 2/3. Okay? The negative 2/3. So, yes, I know it's tedious, but that's what you're gonna do. You just gotta test them and see what works and what doesn't. So, I would have gone through all of that, and then I would have had to have gone through the 1 and 1/3. I mean, the plus and minus 1/3. See that didn't work, and then probably the 2/3, and then the negative 2/3, and then I would have gotten it. Okay. But, it's not a big deal. So let's see what we've got here. So this is going to be negative 2. That's atom. That's negative 6. That's going to be negative 4. Atom. That is going to be four. Okay, so actually that should be a positive 4. Negative and a negative is positive. And so we add them, that's going to be 12. And then we multiply, let's see, 2/3 times 12, that's going to be negative 8 and 0. Okay, so this is our, this is a 0 because we got a 0 remainder. Now remember what this means is that's 3x squared minus 6x plus 12. In other words, this, if we're starting to factor it, that can be written as x plus 2/3 times 3x squared minus 6x plus 12. Okay, that's factoring it out. Now, we need to take this thing, set it equal to 0, and solve, because see, we've already got our 0 here. It's kind of like if you set this equal to 0, then we get x equal negative 2/3. See, there's the negative 2/3. Well, now we set this one equal to 0 and solve. And so that is going to be, let's see, that's what, 3x squared minus 6x plus 12 equals 0. So when we solve this, well, first thing I would do is I would divide everything by 3. So that's going to give me x squared minus 2x plus 4 equals 0. Okay. Well, when we look at this, we notice this thing doesn't factor. Okay. So how are we going to solve it? Well, we can use the quadratic formula, or we can complete the square. And since this is a even number, I would just as fast to complete the square. So remember, move the 4 over. Okay. And then remember, you take this term, you half it, you get 1. You square it, you get 1. Okay. And so we get x minus 1 squared equals negative 3. x minus 1 is plus or minus I square root of 3. Add the 1 to both sides, so x equals 1 plus or minus I square root of 3. Alright, so our solutions here, well, we've got the negative 2/3, so we've got the negative 2/3 and the 1 plus or minus I square root of 3. So that would be our zeros. Okay. Alright, so I hope this helped. That's this video, and the other video is similar to this one, except for basically what happens is the what we're left over with here. Once we get finished doing the synthetic division, this actually factors. That's the difference. Now the third example I'm going to do, this will be a fourth power. Okay, so basically you'll have to do this twice. Alright, so check that video out. I hope this helped. Give me a like, subscribe, share, and thanks for watching.